Hello, I'm Allison, and welcome to another episode of Listen Now, Read Later, the podcast that leads you to your next favorite novel by reading you short stories. As always, we will be tying together short fiction and long-form fiction so that after you listen now, you can read later. Episode 11, All the Lonely People. Today we're bringing you two short stories that look at the interior life of lonely people. Afterward, Teresa will tell you why we have the perfect novel for you to read if today's stories were your cup of tea. Our first story today is titled The Bowl, and it's by Aimee Bender, the author of 6 books, including The Girl in the Flammable Skirt, which is the collection that includes today's story. Known for her distinctive blend of the real and the fantastical, Bender has won many awards for her fiction and teaches creative writing at the University of Southern California. Our second story, Signs of Life, is by Miriam Kuznets. She earned an MFA in fiction writing from the Iowa Writers Workshop and has won awards for her fiction from Barnard College and the Poets and Writers Exchange. Her agent, Madison Smart Bell, at Aisha Pandey Literary, is circulating 2 of her novels, and she has 1 in progress. The Bowl was originally published in The Girl in the Flammable Skirt in 1998. Signs of Life was originally published in The Antioch Review in 1987. We're reading The Bowl from a copy of The Girl in the Flammable Skirt and Signs of Life from Narrative Design by Madison Smart Bell. Both of these stories are being read today by the author's permission. We hope you enjoy. The Bowl by Aimee Bender.
Let me open it up for you. There's a gift in your lap and it's beautifully wrapped and it's not your birthday. You feel wonderful. You feel like somebody knows you're alive. You feel fear because it could be a bomb, because you think you're that important. When you open the wrapping, there's no card. You find a bowl. A green bowl with a white interior, a bowl for fruit or mixing. You're puzzled, but obediently put 4 bananas inside and then go back to whatever you were doing before, a crossword puzzle. You wonder and hope this is from a secret admirer, but if so, why a bowl? What are you to learn and gain from a green and white fruit bowl? This is when you start thinking about the last lover you had and feel bad about yourself. This is when you stand with your pencil poised over the crossword puzzle and stare at the wall. This is when you laugh out loud, alone to yourself, at something funny he once said about crossword puzzles and feel ridiculous for still being able to be entertained by this lover of yore who slept facing the wall and wanted less than what you wanted. You want a lot. You go make yourself a cup of tea, and while you're prepping your mug, you spill the sugar all over the floor. It's sticky and gets all over your feet. This bothers you. You go to take a shower. As the shower water steams up the bathroom, it reminds you of the unfinished tea, and you dash naked into the kitchen to make sure you haven't left the burner on. The house a pile of ash with just the bathroom standing. You stand in front of the stove. The stove is off, you say to it. You are off. You look at each burner in turn, then the oven part, all off. You go to take a shower and ignore your body. You use a soap puff brush instead of your hands, and when it's done, you're fresh and clean and disengaged and anybody. At work, your boss has died. Really, you find out your boss has died of a heart attack yesterday in his shower. And your first thought is if you'll still have a job, and your second thought is mean, like you wanted him to die anyway. He was a bad boss. At your desk, you feel guilty and not sure what to do. You have no boss. What are the rules? Who can you ask? You make a list of things to do and then sit still and do none of them. You think about the bowl and wonder if it has to do with your boss dying. Was it some kind of message? You decide it is not a message, but a mere coincidence. At lunch, you order steamed vegetables because you're remembering that you have a heart too. You feel humbled by your heart. It works so hard. You want to thank it. You give your chest a little pat. When the vegetables arrive, there are 12 on a plate, high green and matte yellow, sliced into fancy ovals and diamonds to disguise the fact that they taste so bad. You pour lemon butter all over them but feel like a big cheat. After several broccolis, you leave the restaurant with your plate still half full and shiny with grease to go visit your brother. He works in the fire department and is handsome in his outfit. You tell him your boss is dead and it freaks him out. He wonders if he could have saved him. Had he been there, he knows CPR. Your brother has your face, but a better version. You look better as a man. You think about the women who have loved him and looked into his face while he entered their bodies, and how that's your face, almost, but it's definitely not. You feel gypped. Andy, you ask him, will you set me up with a fireman? He laughs.
Sure.
You've never asked this before. You wonder if he thinks you're kidding. You go home early because your boss is dead. The fruit bowl sits there, some strange reminder of something you can't remember. You put the bananas back on the counter and fill the bowl with warm water. You let your hands soak in it. This feels really nice. You sing a little song to yourself about fruits and bowls and warm water, a song you just made up. You wonder if you'll go out with the fireman after all, and if you do, will he kiss you? Does a fireman kiss slow or urgent? Will he lift your shirt or run off to water things just when it's all seeming better? You lie down flat on the orange carpet and close your eyes. You are feeling very lonely. There is a knock at the door, and at first you wonder if you made it up because you are lonely. But then there's another knock, and this one is too emphatic to be part of a fantasy. This one is not a nice knock. You look into the peephole. There's a man in a suit. You wonder if he's here to investigate if you killed your boss or not. You open the door.
I'm here,
He says.
to retrieve a bowl?
What? His eyebrows stick out from his face, adding great depth. He is an older man. He looks as though his life is not making him happy.
I'm here to retrieve a fruit bowl. I think one of them was delivered to you this morning by accident. All wrapped up. A green fruit bowl.
You are stunned and confused. It was not for you after all? You empty out the water and hand him the fruit bowl, and he nods. He drips the remaining drops of water onto your welcome mat. The man seems very displeased, and you think it's something you did, but then realize it has nothing to do with you, which is depressing. He tilts his head down slightly in apology and leaves with the bowl. You shut the door behind him. You want it back. You want the bowl back. You open the door to yell after him, "Sir, that's my bowl. It came to my house with my name on the wrapping. That's my bowl, sir. Give me back my bowl." But he's gone. You go to the sidewalk to look down the street, but he's gone. All you can see are 3 kids on bicycles circling their driveways, 7 years old, turning tight circles in their driveways because they're too scared to go where there might be cars.
We hope you enjoyed our first story. Now here's Signs of Life by Miriam Kuznets.
Same old story.
He says.
Seems like there aren't any new ones.
She says.
War.
He says.
Peace.
She says.
Good.
He says. After the movie, in the popcorn-strewn lobby, crimson with gold flecks, each is waiting for a friend to finish in the bathroom. They used to wait for each other. Nadine and Michael live in a town famous for rain. Drizzling, spitting, pissing like regret. Nadine never carries an umbrella. When she was 15, in her hometown on the other side of the country, she'd been struck by lightning. Her hand was on an iron fence, a teenage hand feeling romantic in a thunderstorm, no one around to see her face uplifted, eyes shut, mouth open. The shock was just that, yet she couldn't get her fingers to loosen their grip on the post until she fainted. Thereafter, her classmates treated her as a daredevil. A month after Nadine was hit, her mother found a white streak in her hair, near the nape. Nadine could never see it, though she tried tricks with mirrors. Now she's twice as old.
Are you waiting for life to begin? Do you feel like just another face in the crowd? Are you ready for a change? If so, the Tyler School of...
In the morning, Nadine lowered the radio so she could decipher the racket in the hall of her apartment building. She gargled coffee and flipped through the newspaper, looking for a movie to see that night. Her eyebrows rose at the Revival House bill. Still listening, she picked up the exams. What is the capital of Alaska? Jupiter, her favorite student had written. Nadine didn't correct her. Mind over matter.
Evil.
She says. Since she last saw him, about a year ago, his skin has drooped, his slick hair has become waxy, and his eyes look as if they need a washing. He's starting to lose what he should gain, and gain what he should lose. He doesn't believe it, so he isn't ugly yet. She's pleasantly surprised by the change, as if he were a doll that has acquired laugh lines after being played with and forgotten. Michael, across the hall at a college in the stamped town Nadine chose sight unseen. He gave her a bath or a back rub any time she asked. They wrestled and he tickled her until she thought she would burst. They winked at each other as they danced to slow numbers, her chin resting on someone else's shoulder, one of his shoulder blades covered by someone else's hand. He said,
I don't love you.
She said,
You don't have a choice.
She said,
You're the back of my hand and I'm yours, and all I have is time on my hands.
Nadine had no idea what she was talking about. It sounded good.
Get out of here, you bum!
Someone was shouting in the hall. Nadine stared at the bottom of her coffee mug. Her suspicion that Mr. Tree-Ear had returned was confirmed. During the night, she'd smelled him in between the drops of rain. He was a gray bearded man with a garbage bag folded, tucked, and tied around his head, lending it the appearance of a tree-ear mushroom, and serving as a shower cap. He had no home and sneaked into her apartment building to rest on the balding green carpet in the hallway. Nadine doodled on a napkin. Tree ears hear a tree fall in the forest when there's no one around.
Death.
He says. She licks her lips a few times, watching his as he speaks. His is the mouth she kisses when she kisses her friend, the one in the bathroom. They are breaking a rule by not pretending they've never seen each other naked. Michael, after college, was the wunderkind at the Daily Sun. He was going to do it for just a year. For a year, Nadine proofread at night for the same newspaper. She corrected typos in the police ledger, obituaries, and forecasts of inclement weather. Then she opened a smudged window and hung her head out to get it wet. The only thing moving on the street was a garbage bag, Mr. Tree-Ear on the curb, nodding. The other proofers left her to lock up, and she made an expensive phone call to a friend in an earlier time zone. She skimmed the papers on Michael's desk, in his drawers, waiting for some sign that she had been a part of his life. They didn't see each other in person anymore.
Get a job, you're not crippled.
She leaned against the doorway. A sweatshirt with a hole over the breast and underwear with broken elastic were not proper gear in which to save Mr. Tree-Ear. She dialed 911.
Where's the emergency?
She stuttered the answer.
What do you want from us, lady?
Life.
She says. Standing next to him is like standing next to her perpetually unmade bed. She would have no trouble falling asleep on him. If she were to see him for the first time now, she wouldn't see him. He looks a bit sleazy. He could be anybody, but he runs his hands up and down the sides of his thighs, leaving his fingerprints. George M. Clark, age 31, of Young County, is suspected of murdering 6 young women in that area over the past 2 years. Late yesterday afternoon, police found in Clark's home a coffee table made of human bones and a pillowcase fashioned from human skin. Police suspect George Clark's victims became his furniture. Nadine made pillowcase one word. She decided to find another profession. Bang! The door slammed. After hastily covering herself, Nadine roamed the street, eyes peeled. Mr. Tree-Ear's head was in a puddle. She crouched, cleared her throat.
Can I help you?
What do you want from me, sweetheart?
Yet he smiled. What? When? Where? Who? Why? She wanted to know, and hoped he could tell her. She rubbed dry the back of her hand, and their eyes met.
Love.
He says. He brushes a piece of hair away from her face. It's her turn, but she doesn't take it.
Tell us a story!
23 little faces, all shapes and colors, waited. Your teacher is a fraud. She thinks lightning can strike twice in the same place. She believes coffee will someday taste as good as it smells. She dreams of things she can't put her finger on. She didn't tell them this tale. Instead, she grinned and began. It was a dark and stormy afternoon, and the pupils said to their teacher,
Tell us a story!
So she began. It was a dark and stormy afternoon, and the pupils said to their teacher,
Tell us a story!
Get to the point. None of them had heard the story before. The room was dark except for a dot of red. She hadn't turned the radio off completely earlier. She had drifted to sleep in the arms of her friend and awoke to thunderclaps and grayed white walls.
Movie time soon,
She said.
Why do you want to see this so badly?
He asked. She hugged him. She stood naked before the bathroom mirror and combed her moist hair. In a summer camp many years before, a fellow camper wore a braid, day in and out, never allowing her hair to dry. When she finally unraveled the braid, clumps fell to the floor. Nadine examined several white hairs in her comb.
Yeah, same old story.
He says.
I suppose it's all in the telling.
She says.
We saw this one together, remember?
She asks.
Thought it was familiar.
He says.
You know, I'd ask you to come home with me, but
He says.
I'm happy with the way things are now. It's better.
She says. The delicate ankles of a woman who won't be walking in the rain tonight come closer.
There's your friend.
She says.
and there's yours.
He says.
I hope, I feel,
She says.
I never was any good at endings.
Now that you've listened, here's what to read later. What did I just read? That was my initial reaction to both of this episode's stories. They have abrupt transitions, odd characters, and confusing storylines that seemingly lead nowhere in the end. So, what did we just read? I think the beauty of these two stories is not in their disjointed plots, but in their genuine reflection of the human experience. Each story, in its own way, captures the sporadic nature of thoughts, specifically nostalgic or reflective ones. While you may not be able to follow our main characters' logic, you can follow their feelings. In these simple, everyday encounters, we feel their loneliness, their wistfulness, and their longing. So if you can relate to these swirling emotions, if you find yourself reflecting on regrets, if you know nostalgia well, and if you wonder about what could be, then you have to read The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. We know our choices have consequences, but what if you could see and experience those different lives for yourself? What if you could take back your biggest regrets? This experience is what Nora finds in the place between life and death. After attempting to take her own life, Nora is taken to the Midnight Library, a room filled with infinite stories of alternate hers. When offered the opportunity, Nora journeys through many lives, taking back her regrets and searching for a reality where she feels complete and whole. Her search may lead somewhere she never imagined. An extremely thoughtful and British story, The Midnight Library sparked our imaginations and countless conversations. Through Nora, you're led down your own memory lane. It's impossible not to wonder what you would do in her situation, what your own midnight library might look like, and, in that way, the book becomes a call to action. We think you will really enjoy this book and the many emotions and memories it will no doubt bring to the surface. So if you enjoy The Bowl and Signs of Life, you have to read The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Thanks for listening to this episode of Listen Now, Read Later. Follow us on Instagram for fun extras and updates on our next episode. Want to support local booksellers and this podcast? Buy The Midnight Library and any other books you want through our bookshop.org affiliate store. Now it's time for you to go read the book, and we'll catch you when you listen later.